Ambassador Tajo of the Vexillian Confederacy stood before the Galactic Imperial Council, his luminescent skin pulsing with urgency. Emperor Han watched with barely concealed boredom as the alien diplomat activated a holographic display. "Esteemed counselors," Tajo began, "our reconnaissance teams have discovered a species on a backwater planet called Earth. These humans appear primitive, but our analysis suggests they possess unprecedented adaptability and determination." General Dugan scoffed. "Another alarmist report. We've catalogued thousands of species. What makes these creatures noteworthy?" "Their advancement curve is unlike anything we've encountered," Tajo insisted. "They developed from basic tools to rudimentary space travel in mere millennia. Their resilience—" "Enough," Emperor Han interrupted. "The Empire has stood for 50,000 years. We command technologies these humans cannot comprehend. Your concerns are noted, but dismissed." As the council adjourned, Admiral Jaiwan approached Tajo. "I hope you're wrong about these humans," she whispered. "For all our sakes," Tajo replied. "So do I." Tajo returned to his quarters, frustrated by the council's dismissal. He reviewed the data again. The humans had survived countless natural disasters, wars, plagues, and climate shifts. Where other species might have fallen to extinction, humans adapted and grew stronger. On his wall display, Tajo pulled up footage from Earth. Children playing in parks, scientists working in labs, soldiers training, artists creating. All of them showed the same trait: persistence. He had never seen a species so unwilling to accept defeat. Meanwhile, Emperor Han met privately with his inner circle. "This Vexillian ambassador worries too much," he said, pouring a bright blue liquid into crystal glasses. "We've dealt with countless emerging species." General Duyan nodded in agreement. "They're barely into their solar system. Their weapons are primitive. Their biology is fragile." Only Admiral Jiwon seemed troubled. "The Vexillians are known for their careful analysis. Perhaps we should send a small observation fleet." "Waste of resources," said Minister Song, the Emperor's chief advisor. "Our expansion plans are already set for the next century. These humans don't warrant special attention." The Emperor smiled. "Jiwon, always cautious. Very well. Send a single observer, one ship, minimal crew, if only to quiet these concerns." Back on Earth, humans remained unaware of the Empire's attention. In research centers across the planet, scientists made breakthroughs in quantum physics, artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering. Military planners developed strategies for potential alien contact, both peaceful and hostile. Children played games imagining space adventures. Captain Dae-sung prepared his small observation vessel for departure to the Sol system. He had handpicked his crew: Science Officer Yang, Security Chief Suk, and Communications Specialist Jun. "A waste of time," Suk complained as they prepared for launch, "watching primitives who've barely left their planet." "Admiral Jiwon believes this mission has merit," Dae-sung replied. "That's enough for me." Their ship entered hyperspace, its destination set for the edge of Earth's solar system. They would observe undetected, gather data, and report back. On Earth, Dr. Kim made a breakthrough. Her team had been studying unusual radiation patterns from distant space. "These aren't natural," she told her colleagues. "They're regular, patterned. I think they're artificial." Her discovery spread quickly through scientific circles. World governments took notice. Space telescopes were redirected to study the phenomenon. No one knew these emissions came from Imperial communication networks. Taiho continued his research on humans despite the Council's dismissal. He found something troubling in Earth's historical records. Humans had an unusual response to superior forces. Rather than surrender, they studied their opponents, adapted, and often prevailed against overwhelming odds. "They don't accept inevitable defeat," he muttered to himself. "They don't understand the concept of impossible." Daesum's observation ship reached the outer solar system. They settled into a hidden position near Saturn, using its rings for cover. Their advanced cloaking technology made detection impossible, or so they believed. "Begin passive scans," Daesum ordered. No active sensors. We observe only. For weeks, they monitored Earth communications, studied human technology, and analyzed their social structures. Young compiled detailed reports on human biology, noting their remarkable ability to survive in diverse environments. Their genetic diversity is unusual, Young reported. Most species self-select toward uniformity. Humans maintain incredible variation. It makes them highly adaptable. Suk studied their military capabilities. Primitive, she concluded, but creative. They compensate for technological limitations with unusual strategies. Their communication patterns are fascinating, June added. They have thousands of languages, yet manage global coordination. Their information networks are chaotic but effective. Daesung's reports back to Admiral Jiwan were measured but increasingly concerned. This species bears watching, he concluded, not for their current capabilities but for their potential. On Earth, Dr. Kim's team made another discovery. We've detected an anomaly near Saturn, she reported to a classified government meeting. Something's hiding there. Something with technology far beyond our own. Military leaders from major nations gathered to discuss the finding. Unlike the stories in their fiction, they didn't panic or make hasty decisions. They quietly formed a united response team, pooling resources and expertise. If something's watching us, General Park said, let's learn about them before they know we've noticed. Unknown to Daesung's crew, Earth's most advanced sensors were now focused on their position. Human scientists worked day and night to understand the alien technology they were detecting. Meanwhile, Taiho attempted one final warning to the Imperial Council. Humans have a trait we've never encountered, he explained. They unite against external threats. They innovate under pressure. If we approach them without care, they will perceive us as a threat and respond accordingly. Emperor Han laughed. One primitive planet against the might of the Empire. Your concern is noted, Ambassador, but remains unnecessary. As the Council dismissed Taiho's warnings once again, Earth's United Response Team made a breakthrough. They had detected the energy signature of Daesung's cloaked ship. We're not alone, Dr. Kim announced to world leaders. And they're watching us. Instead of public announcements or panic, Earth prepared quietly. Resources shifted to space defense and technology development. Scientists worked to understand the alien technology signatures they had detected. Aboard his observation ship, Daesung remained unaware that the humans had spotted them. Prepare final reports, he ordered his crew. We'll return to Imperial space tomorrow. That night, as Daesung slept, Earth launched its first response. Not a weapon, but a probe carrying a simple message in mathematical language. It headed directly toward the cloaked Imperial ship. Admiral Jiwan received Daesung's reports with growing concern. Perhaps the Vexillian ambassador had been right to worry. She decided to recommend a more comprehensive assessment before any official contact with Earth. But Emperor Han had already made his decision. The Imperial expansion fleet would proceed according to schedule. Humans would be given the standard choice: join the Empire or face subjugation. Their fate is sealed, the Emperor declared, like thousands of species before them. Taiho heard this announcement with a sense of dread. The Empire had never faced a species like humans before, and humans had never encountered a threat like the Empire. The warning had been given. The warning had been dismissed, and now consequences would follow. Captain Subin's flagship emerged from hyperspace above the blue planet, leading the Imperial expansion fleet. His mission seemed straightforward. Demonstrate superior force, accept Earth's surrender, and integrate the planet into the Empire. Primitive weapon systems detecting our arrival. Lieutenant Yunju reported, they're scrambling aircraft and mobilizing ground forces. Subin smiled. Broadcast the standard submission protocol. The response came swiftly. Not surrender, but a coordinated attack from multiple vectors. Though technologically inferior, the human forces displayed unexpected tactics, targeting vulnerabilities in Imperial shields that no species had ever exploited. Impossible, Subin muttered as damage reports flooded in. They couldn't have analyzed our system so quickly. Within hours, 3 Imperial vessels had fallen. Worse, the humans had captured an intact scout ship. "They're adapting too quickly," Yunju warned. "Intelligence reports they've already begun disassembling our technology." Subin's mandibles clicked nervously. Perhaps the Vexillian ambassador wasn't being dramatic after all. The Imperial Command Center buzzed with frantic activity. Display screens showed multiple human military forces launching coordinated attacks across the globe. Subin had expected an easy victory. The standard protocol had worked on hundreds of worlds before. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, and accept their new place in the Empire. Simple and effective. But humans were not following the script. "Status report," Subin demanded, his forearms gripping the command rail tightly. Yunju looked up from her station, her face pale. 7 more Imperial ships reporting critical damage. "The humans are using some kind of targeted electromagnetic pulse. Hits bypassing our secondary shields." "How?" "That's impossible." Subin slammed a fist on the console. "They don't have the technology to analyze our shield frequencies." Officer Jin approached with a data tablet. "Sir, we've intercepted their communications. They knew we were coming. They'd been studying Captain Daesung's observation vessel for months. They were prepared." Subin felt a cold chill run down his spine. The observation mission that was supposed to be completely hidden had somehow been detected by these primitives. Now 1/3 of his fleet was damaged or disabled. On Earth, General Park stood in the underground Global Defense Command Center. Screens showed the positions of alien ships and Earth's defense forces. After months of preparation, their plan was working. "Status of Operation Trojan?" he asked. A young officer looked up from her station. "The captured scout ship has been transported to Facility 7. Science teams are taking it apart now. Initial reports indicate the propulsion system can be adapted to our vessels." General Park nodded. "And the attack teams?" "All reporting success, sir. The electromagnetic pulse weapons are working better than expected. 3 enemy ships have been disabled completely. For 6 months, Earth had prepared in secret. When they first detected the observation ship near Saturn, world leaders had made a bold decision. Instead of announcing the discovery of alien life, they kept it secret from the public. They formed a united defense force, pooling resources and the best minds from every nation. Back in orbit, Subin ordered a tactical retreat. His remaining ships pulled back to the far side of Earth's moon to regroup. This was unprecedented. No species at this development stage had ever repelled an Imperial First Contact fleet. "We need to inform the Imperial Command," Subin said. "Request reinforcements." Yunju looked troubled. "Sir, they've somehow jammed our long-range communications. We can't reach Imperial space." "What? That's not possible with their technology level." Subin felt panic rising. "Sir," Jin reported, "they must have learned more from Daesung's ship than we realized. They're using modified versions of our own technology against us." Subin stared at the tactical display. The beautiful blue planet now seemed menacing. "Prepare a full assault. We must regain control of this situation." On Earth, scientists worked frantically to understand the alien technology. Dr. Kimball led the team examining the propulsion system from the captured scout ship. "This is incredible," she said, studying the strange metal components. "Their energy generation system is based on principles we theorized but couldn't implement." A military officer watched impatiently. "How long until we can use this?" "Days, not weeks," Dr. Kim replied. "The principles are actually simpler than our own approaches. We overcomplicated things. Their solution is elegant." Across the planet, manufacturing facilities retooled to produce weapons based on the new technology. The aliens' arrival had united humanity in ways no one thought possible. Old enemies worked together, sharing resources and knowledge. It was adapted or die. Subin launched the second wave of attacks, targeting Earth's major military installations, but the humans had anticipated this move. They had evacuated key facilities and set traps. More Imperial ships fell into carefully planned ambushes. "Sir, We've lost contact with Assault Group 3, Jin reported. And Group 5 reports they're under attack from vessels using technology similar to our scout ships. Subin couldn't believe what he was hearing. That's impossible. They couldn't have replicated our technology so quickly. Sir, Yunji said quietly, they didn't replicate it. They improved it. The human counterattack came 3 days later. A fleet of hybrid ships, human vessels equipped with modified Imperial technology, rose from hidden bases around the planet. They moved with surprising speed and agility. Subin watched in horror as the tactical display showed human ships surrounding his remaining fleet. How? How did they adapt so quickly? On the lead human ship, Admiral Li gave the order to attack. Their vessels, though crude by Imperial standards, carried weapons reverse-engineered from the captured scout ship. They targeted specific weaknesses in the Imperial defenses that Dr. Kim's team had identified. Subin's flagship shuddered as the first human weapons found their mark. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. The mighty Imperial vessel, capable of destroying entire cities, was being damaged by weapons built by a species that had only recently discovered spaceflight. Sir, we must retreat, Yunji urged. We've lost too many ships. Subin couldn't process what was happening. This was supposed to be a routine mission. Show force, accept surrender, move on to the next conquest. That was how it always worked. Sir, Jin shouted over the alarms. They've broken through our forward shields. Subin made the hardest decision of his career. Full retreat. All remaining vessels, emergency jump to Rally Point Alpha. As the surviving Imperial ships fled Earth's orbit, humanity celebrated their first victory. But General Park and the other leaders knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would return with greater force. We've bought ourselves time, General Park told the Global Defense Council. Now we must use it wisely. Dr. Kim's team continued their work, learning more from the alien technology each day. Their mistake. She explained to military leaders that we couldn't understand their technology. But humans are good at figuring things out, especially when our survival depends on it. In Imperial space, Subin faced the Emperor's wrath. No Imperial fleet had ever retreated from a primitive world before. You have failed spectacularly, Emperor Han said coldly. These humans cannot be allowed to defy the Empire. My Emperor, Subin replied, his voice shaking. The Vexillian ambassador was right. These humans are different. They learn and adapt faster than any species we have encountered. The Emperor dismissed his concerns. Prepare a full invasion fleet. We will crush this rebellion before it inspires others. Admiral Jowan, watching from the side of the throne room, felt a growing sense of dread. The Empire was making a terrible mistake. These humans had accomplished in days what other species couldn't do in centuries. They had studied their enemy, adapted, and fought back. On Earth, humanity prepared for the coming storm, united as never before. The captured Imperial technology spread rapidly through Earth's defense forces. New weapons, new ships, new strategies developed daily. They'll be back, General Park told his officers. And next time they'll come with everything they have. A young soldier asked, "Can we win against their full force?" General Park considered the question carefully. A week ago, I would have said no. But now they underestimated us once. Let's make sure they regret doing it twice. Governor Hyunwoo surveyed the smoking ruins of another Imperial outpost. 3 months of occupation, and the humans showed no signs of accepting their inevitable defeat. Fourth attack this week, Security Chief Min-soo reported. Different tactics each time. They're learning, adapting, using our own weapons against us. Hyunwoo stared at the intelligence reports. Where other conquered species typically surrendered after demonstrating token resistance, humans organized, adapted, and seemed to grow more determined with each setback. Most concerning is their information network, Min-soo continued. They're communicating across our controlled zones using methods we can't trace. A human prisoner was brought forward. Despite weeks of captivity, the woman stood tall. You must see the futility of resistance, Hyunwoo said. Why continue fighting? The prisoner, Commander June, merely smiled. Because humans don't understand the concept of impossible. That night, she escaped taking 6 Imperial guards and encryption codes with her. The alarm sounded at exactly midnight. Governor Hyun-woo was pulled from his sleep by the blaring noise. He rushed to his command center, still putting on his uniform. "Report!" he demanded as he entered the room. Min-soo looked up from the security console, his face grim. "The human prisoner has escaped. Commander June, she killed 2 guards and injured 3 others." Hyun-woo slammed his fist on the table. "How? The cell was designed to hold creatures 3 times stronger than humans. She didn't break out," Min-soo said quietly. "She tricked the guards, pretending to be sick. When they entered to check on her, she moved faster than we thought possible." "Find her," Hyun-woo shouted. "Use every drone, every scanner. She cannot escape the base." But as the sun rose over the occupied city of New Sydney, there was no sign of Commander June Wersh. A security check revealed that she had taken something far more valuable than her freedom. 6 encryption codes, Min-soo reported, his voice barely a whisper. "From the personal devices of the guards. With those codes, she can access our secure communications." Hyun-woo felt cold fear grip his chest. The Empire had never faced this situation before. Other species accepted Imperial rule after showing token resistance. They recognized superior force and submitted. Humans were different. They seemed to grow stronger with each defeat. "The Resistance will now be able to predict our moves," Hyun-woo said. "We must change all codes immediately." "It's not that simple," Min-soo replied. "The change must come from Imperial command. It will take days." In the hidden resistance base beneath the ruins of Old Melbourne, Commander June was welcomed as a hero. Despite her thin body and the bruises covering her skin, she walked straight to the command center where resistance leaders waited. "I have the codes," she announced, holding up a small device she had hidden in her body. 6 high-level encryption keys. Our tech team can use them to access Imperial communications for the next few days. General Kim, leader of the Pacific Resistance, nodded with approval. "Well done, Commander. Your sacrifice will save thousands. What did you learn during your captivity?" Jun sat down, accepting a cup of water from a medic. "They don't understand us at all. They expect us to behave like other conquered species. When we don't, they have no backup plan. Around the world, similar resistance cells operated in every occupied zone. The Imperial forces had taken Earth's major cities in the second invasion using overwhelming force. But taking territory was proving far easier than holding it. Governor Hyun-woo's problems multiplied in the days following Commander June's escape. Using the stolen encryption codes, resistance fighters anticipated Imperial patrol routes and supply convoys. Attacks increased by 300%. "We're losing control," Hyun-woo admitted during a secure call with other regional governors. "The more force we use, the stronger their resolve becomes." Governor Sung from the European zone looked equally troubled. "My region reports the same problem. They're using our own weapons against us now. Last week they captured an entire armory." "How are they communicating?" asked Governor Yan from the American zone. "We shut down their digital networks, blocked radio frequencies, eliminated satellite access. They're using methods we never anticipated," Min-soo replied. "Older technologies we considered obsolete. Physical messengers, something they call the postal service. Even primitive methods like signal fires and light patterns." The Imperial occupation forces had planned for an advanced technological resistance. Instead, humans combined high and low tech in ways the Empire never expected. In the Resistance headquarters, Commander June worked with the technology team to decrypt Imperial communications. The information they gathered helped coordinate global resistance efforts. "They're planning a major sweep of the mountain regions," June reported to General Kim. 3 days from now, they're bringing in special forces." General Kim studied the map. "Perfect. That's when we launched Operation Hornet's Nest. The Resistance had learned to use Imperial arrogance against them. When the special forces arrived to sweep the mountains, they found empty caves and abandoned camps. But as they moved deeper into the terrain, sensors hidden in the rocks tracked their movements. On the third day, as the frustrated Imperial forces began to withdraw, the trap was sprung, not a direct attack. The humans had tried that and learned it rarely worked against Imperial body armor. Instead, they triggered landslides and flash floods, separating the Imperial units from each other. In the confusion, small resistance teams swooped in, targeting officers and communication specialists. They didn't try to kill all the Imperial soldiers, just disabled their coordination. Governor Hyunwoo received the reports with growing horror. Half the Special Forces unit is missing. A third of their equipment was captured. Min-soo looked exhausted. "Sir, we've been approaching this wrong. We've been fighting like this is a standard pacification. It's not. It's becoming a war of attrition. The Empire doesn't lose wars of attrition." Hyunwoo snapped. "We have resources from 1,000 worlds." "Yes, sir," Min-soo agreed. "But those resources must travel across space. The humans only need to defend one world, their home." At Imperial headquarters in New Beijing, governors from all occupied zones gathered for an emergency meeting. The holographic image of Emperor Han appeared before them, his face showing rare concern. "6 months of occupation," the Emperor said, "and you report the resistance is growing stronger." "My Emperor," Han Mu began carefully, "these humans don't respond like other species. When we destroy one resistance cell, 3 more appear. When we control the cities, they retreat to the countryside and mountains. When we follow, they return to the cities in our absence. They're using our own technology against us," Governor Sum added, "modifying our weapons, adapting our vehicles to their needs. A group in my territory has even replicated our energy shields." Emperor Han's eyes narrowed. "You are the military elite of the Empire. You command technology thousands of years beyond these primitives. Find a solution." After the Emperor's image faded, the governors looked at each other with worry. None wanted to admit the truth. They were losing control of Earth. "We need to change strategy," Min-soo suggested. "Perhaps offer concessions, allow some self-governance under Imperial oversight." "Weakness will only encourage them," Governor Yan argued. "We need harsher measures. Make examples of resistance leaders." Han Mu shook his head. "We've tried that. Public executions only create martyrs. More humans join the resistance afterward." As the Imperial leadership debated, Commander Jun prepared for her next mission. The resistance had learned the location of an Imperial research facility where captured human scientists were being forced to work on new weapons. "It's heavily guarded," Jun told her team, "but we have the advantage of surprise. They still underestimate human abilities." The rescue mission succeeded beyond expectations. Not only did they free the scientists, but they also captured crucial Imperial research data. Most importantly, they discovered something that changed the course of the resistance: blueprints for Imperial faster-than-light communication technology. With this technology, Earth's scattered resistance movements could coordinate globally in real time, bypassing Imperial communication blocks. 6 months later, Governor Hyunwoo stood in the ruins of what had once been his headquarters. Another successful resistance attack had left Imperial forces reeling. "We can't win this way," he admitted to Min-soo. "Not with conventional occupation tactics." Min-soo nodded grimly. The prisoner was right. Humans don't understand the concept of the impossible. The more we push them, the harder they push back. Across Earth, the resistance grew stronger each day. Imperial forces found themselves increasingly confined to fortified bases, unable to control the territories they had claimed. Commander Jun, now General Jun, looked at a global map showing resistance-controlled areas in green and Imperial strongholds in red. The green was spreading week by week. "They thought we would surrender," she told her officers. "They thought wrong." What the Empire had planned as a simple occupation had become the greatest challenge in its 50,000-year history. And humans were just getting started. Admiral Jae-won stared in disbelief at the tactical display. Somehow, in just 7 years, The humans had constructed a fleet combining Imperial technology with innovations the Empire had never conceived. The human ships are approaching in formation, Tactical Officer Jae-hyun reported. They're using some sort of modified shield technology our weapons can't penetrate. The human fleet, led by General Howen, executed maneuvers that defied conventional strategy. They didn't focus on Imperial strengths or weaknesses. They changed the parameters of the engagement entirely. They're not fighting the way we fight, Jae-won realized. They're making us fight the way they fight. When the flagship's systems failed, Jae-won knew the battle, indeed the war, was lost. As escape pods launched, she received a transmission from the Vexillian ambassador Tao. "I'm coordinating with human leaders," he said. "Other systems are rising up inspired by Earth's resistance. The Empire is falling, Jae-won." "Because of one primitive species?" she asked incredulously. "No," Tao replied. "Because they showed the galaxy that resistance is possible." 7 years had changed everything. Admiral Jae-won remembered the first reports of human resistance. The Empire had dismissed them as temporary setbacks. No one believed these primitives could truly challenge Imperial power. Yet, here they were, their ships approaching the Imperial defense fleet with confidence that would have been unthinkable just years ago. "Admiral, they've split into 3 attack groups," Jae-hyun reported, his voice tight with tension. "Their formation doesn't match any known tactical pattern." Jae-won studied the display. The human ships moved differently than Imperial vessels. They were smaller, faster, and unpredictable. What they lacked in raw power, they made up for in speed and surprise. "Target their lead vessels," Jae-won ordered. "Full power to forward weapons." The Imperial battleships fired their main cannons. Brilliant beams of energy crossed the void of space. In previous battles, such weapons had torn through human defenses, but not today. "No effect," Jae-hyun reported in shock. "Their shields absorbed the full impact." Jae-won's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Impossible. How did they develop shield technology that can withstand our weapons?" On the lead human ship, the Earth-United vessel Freedom, General Haywin watched as her fleet executed the attack plan perfectly. After years of fighting from a position of weakness, humanity was finally taking the battle to the Empire. "Phase 1 complete," her tactical officer reported. "Their initial attack was absorbed by our adaptive shields. All ships report ready for Phase 2. Haywin nodded. "Begin the approach. Deploy countermeasures as planned." The human fleet suddenly released thousands of small objects. They looked like debris, but each contained a special device developed by Earth scientists. As they drifted toward the Imperial fleet, they began broadcasting on Imperial frequencies, creating massive confusion in their sensor systems. "We're losing sensor clarity," Jae-hyun shouted. "There's too much interference." Jae-won tried to remain calm. "Switch to visual tracking. Ignore the sensor data." But it was too late. The human ships had vanished into the cloud of countermeasures. The Imperial fleet was effectively blind. The first real attack came from behind. Somehow, several human ships had circled around and approached from the opposite direction. They fired weapons that seemed simple at first, physical projectiles rather than energy beams. But these projectiles carried a deadly payload. "Impact on decks 3 through 7, AA crew member reported as the flagship shuddered. "Unknown technology deploying throughout affected areas." Within minutes, reports flooded in. The projectiles had released swarms of tiny robots. They were spreading through the ship's systems, disrupting power, communications, and life support. "Shut down all affected sectors," Jae-won ordered. "Emergency protocols." But the tiny machines moved faster than the crew could respond. Power systems failed across the ship. Artificial gravity fluctuated. Emergency lights flickered and died. Similar attacks hit other Imperial vessels. The mighty warships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were being defeated by technology they didn't understand. "Admiral," Jae-hyun said, his voice barely audible in the darkening command center. "We're receiving reports from all ships. The same pattern of attack. Systems failing everywhere." Jae-won made the hardest decision of her career. Order all crew to evacuation pods. The flagship is lost. As crew members rushed to escape pods, Jiwan remained at her post. She had served the Empire loyally for 200 years. She had never experienced defeat until humans entered the galactic stage. A sudden transmission cut through the remaining communication systems. The face of Ambassador Taiho appeared on her personal screen. "Jiwan," the Vexillian said, "there's still time for you to survive this." "Taiho?" Jiwan was shocked. "You're working with the humans." "I'm coordinating with human leaders," he said. "Other systems are rising up. Inspired by Earth's resistance. The Empire is falling, Jiwan." "Because of one primitive species?" she asked incredulously. "No," Taiho replied. "Because they showed the galaxy that resistance is possible." As Jiwan made her way to the last evacuation pod, she saw the true extent of the damage. The mighty Imperial flagship was dying around her. Systems that had seemed invincible were now failing. The Empire had ruled for 50,000 years and now faced defeat at the hands of beings who had only recently learned to leave their own planet. On Earth, in the United Command Center, military leaders watched the battle unfold. Their strategy, developed over years of studying Imperial tactics, was working better than they had dared hope. "General Ha-Wan reports complete success," a communications officer announced. "The Imperial fleet is in disarray. 90% of their vessels have lost power or control systems." The room erupted in cheers, but the Supreme Commander, Admiral Park, raised his hand for silence. "This is just one battle. The Empire controls thousands of worlds. We've proven we can win in space, but the war is far from over." What Admiral Park didn't yet know is that the battle was having effects far beyond the solar system. Throughout the galaxy, news spread rapidly. The undefeated Empire had lost a major fleet battle to a species they had tried to conquer. Species that had lived under Imperial rule for centuries began to question their submission. Ambassador Taiho had been busy for years, quietly sharing information about human resistance tactics with other suppressed species. Now, as proof of Imperial vulnerability spread, rebellion erupted across dozens of worlds. On the Imperial throne world, Emperor Han received reports of the defeat with cold fury. "How?" he demanded of his advisors. "How could primitives defeat our most advanced fleet?" His chief military advisor bowed low. "My Emperor, they didn't fight according to any known doctrine. They used our own technology but modified it in ways we never considered. They turned our strengths into weaknesses." "Send the reserve fleets," the Emperor ordered. "Every available ship. We will crush this rebellion before it spreads." But it was already too late. News traveled faster than Imperial ships. By the time reinforcements could reach Earth, rebellions had broken out in 100 star systems. General Jiwan addressed her fleet after their victory. "Today we've proven that humanity will not be conquered. But our fight isn't just for Earth now. We've become a symbol of hope for oppressed beings across the galaxy." Ambassador Tajo's holographic image stood beside her. For 50,000 years, the Empire has ruled through fear and the belief that resistance is futile. You humans have shown that belief to be false. Now, others are finding their courage. In the debris field that had once been an Imperial fleet, Jiwan's escape pod drifted silently. She watched through the small viewport as human ships moved among the wreckage, rescuing Imperial survivors. "They're saving our people," she whispered in disbelief. "After all we did to them." A human ship approached her pod. Instead of destroying it, they attached a tractor beam and pulled her to safety. When the airlock opened, she faced a human officer. "Admiral Jiwan," the human said. "I'm Captain Kang. You're under our protection now." "Why not kill me?" Jiwan asked. "I led the fleet that attacked your world." Captain Kang smiled slightly. "Because that's not who we are. We fight when we must, but we don't destroy when we can save instead." The Vexillian ambassador said you might understand. As Jiwan was led to secure quarters, she realized Taiho had been right from the beginning. Humans weren't dangerous because of their technology or strength. They were dangerous because they fought differently. They saw possibilities where others saw only obstacles. And now, because of them, the entire galaxy was changing. Former Emperor Han sat in his modest quarters on the neutral diplomatic station. 30 years after first contact with Earth, the Galactic Empire existed only in historical archives. In its place stood the Galactic Federation, an alliance of free worlds, where humans held significant influence despite their relative technological immaturity. The door chimed and human ambassador Yun entered. "You wanted to understand," Yun said without preamble. Han nodded. "How did you accomplish in decades what other species couldn't in millennia? You were outmatched in every way." Ambassador Yun considered the question. "Your empire sought perfection and stagnated. Humans embrace imperfection as an opportunity for growth. Where you saw problems to eliminate, we saw challenges to overcome." "But surely other species had similar potential," Han argued. "Perhaps," Yun acknowledged. "But you conquered them before they could discover it. Your greatest mistake wasn't underestimating humans. It was creating an empire so rigid it couldn't adapt." As Yun left, Han gazed out at the stars, finally understanding the warning he had dismissed so casually. Humans weren't unstoppable because of weapons or technology, but because of something far more powerful: the refusal to accept limitations. Han watched the stars from his window. How different his view was now. For most of his life, he had seen the galaxy from the Imperial Palace, where every star represented a world under his control. Now he lived on this small diplomatic station, watching those same stars as a citizen of the new Galactic Federation. The Empire's fall had been swift after the decisive battle at Earth. As news spread of humans defeating the Imperial fleet, rebellions erupted across hundreds of worlds. Species that had been subjugated for thousands of years suddenly found their courage. Within 5 years, half the Empire had broken away. Within 10, the Imperial throne world itself had fallen. Han sipped his tea and reflected on his meeting with Ambassador Yun. The human had not been cruel or boastful. There was no gloating over the Empire's fall. Instead, Yun had spoken honestly about the fundamental differences between human thinking and Imperial philosophy. His thoughts were interrupted by another chime at his door. This visitor was unexpected. Admiral Jaiwan, one of the few high-ranking Imperial officers who had survived the war. "May I join you?" she asked, standing respectfully at the door. Han nodded. Though he was no longer emperor, Jaiwan still showed him the respect of his former position. "I saw Ambassador Yun leaving," Jaiwan said as she sat across from him. "Did you get the answers you sought?" "Some," Han replied, "but I'm still struggling to understand how everything changed so quickly." Jaiwan looked out at the stars. "I've been working with humans for 20 years now. I think I understand them better than most of our kind." After being captured during the decisive battle, Jaiwan had eventually joined the transition council that helped create the Federation. She had seen firsthand how humans approached governance differently than the Empire had. "They don't seek to control," Jaiwan explained. "They build systems where different ideas can compete and evolve. It's chaotic compared to Imperial order, but it produces solutions we would never have considered." Han frowned. "But such chaos should lead to weakness, not strength." "That's what we always believed," Jaiwan agreed. "We saw order as strength and diversity as weakness. Humans see it differently. They believe that testing ideas against each other makes all ideas stronger." Across the galaxy, the new Federation was proving this approach successful. Instead of imposing a single system on all worlds, each planet largely governed itself, sending representatives to the Federation Council. Technologies and cultures mixed freely, creating innovations at a pace the Empire had never achieved. On Earth, the old Unified Command Center had become the Federation Academy, where species from across the galaxy came to learn together. General Jaiwan, now elderly but still sharp, often lectured there on the history of the human resistance. The Empire's greatest weakness, she told her multi-species class, was assuming that their way was the only way. When they encountered something that didn't fit their understanding, They tried to force it to conform, rather than adapting their own approach. A young Vexillian student raised a hand. But humans were technologically inferior. How did you know you could win? Jiwan smiled. We didn't, but we knew we had to try. When the Empire came, they expected us to calculate our chances and surrender. Instead, we asked ourselves what might be possible if we refused to accept defeat. Back on the diplomatic station, Han and Jiwan continued their conversation over dinner. The station's dining hall hosted species from across the galaxy, many of whom would have been forbidden to mix under Imperial rule. Look around, Jiwan said, gesturing to the diverse crowd. Under the Empire, these species were kept separate. We believed mixing would cause conflict and weakness. But look at what's happening instead. Han observed the various beings sharing meals, ideas, and laughter. Species that had once been enemies now worked together. Technologies that had developed in isolation now combined to create new possibilities. The civilian ambassador was right from the beginning, Han admitted quietly. He warned us that humans were different, that they would unite against threats and innovate under pressure. I dismissed him as an alarmist. We all did, Jiwan replied. Our 50,000 years of success made us believe our way was the only way. Later that evening, Han attended a Federation cultural event on the station. Representatives from dozens of worlds shared their music, art, and stories. Among them was Commander Jun, now a respected Federation diplomat. The woman who had once escaped Imperial captivity now helped former enemies find common ground. Han approached her cautiously, unsure how she would receive him. Commander Jun, I believe we met once, though under very different circumstances. Jun turned to face him, her eyes showing recognition, but no hatred. Former Emperor Han, yes, I remember. You questioned me when I was your prisoner. I asked why humans continued fighting when defeat seemed inevitable. Han recalled. Jun smiled. And I told you that humans don't understand the concept of impossible. I have thought about your words many times since then, Han admitted. I think I'm beginning to understand what you meant. They spoke at length about the transition from Empire to Federation. Jun explained how humans had insisted that the new galactic government be built on cooperation rather than domination. We could have tried to establish our own empire, she said. Many species expected us to. But we've read our own history. Empires eventually fall. We wanted to build something that could grow and adapt instead. The next morning, Han visited the Federation Education Center on the station. There, children from dozens of species learned together. He watched as they worked on collaborative projects, each contributing their species' unique perspectives and abilities. A human teacher noticed him and approached. Former Emperor Han, welcome to our school. Would you like to address the students? Many are studying galactic history. Han was surprised by the invitation. They would want to hear from me? The leader of the former empire? Of course, the teacher replied. We teach history from multiple perspectives. Your insights would be valuable. Speaking to the young students, Han found himself being more honest than he had ever been as emperor. The empire lasted 50,000 years because we believed our way was perfect. He told them. We stopped looking for new ideas, new approaches. That was our greatest mistake. A young human student raised her hand. But if your empire was so much more advanced than Earth, why couldn't you win the war? Han considered the question carefully. Because we only knew how to fight one way. When that didn't work, we had no alternative strategies. Humans adapted. They changed their tactics, their technology, even their way of thinking to meet each challenge. As Han left the school, he encountered Ambassador Yum again. I saw you speaking with the children, Yum said. That was kind of you. I'm trying to understand, Han replied. Not just how the Empire fell, but why the Federation succeeds where we failed. Yum nodded. Come with me. There's something I want to show you. They traveled to the station's observatory deck. There, a massive display showed real-time developments from across the galaxy. New technologies, cultural exchanges, scientific breakthroughs, all flowing across the screen in a constant stream of innovation. Under the Empire, change was seen as a threat, Yum explained. In the Federation, it's our greatest strength. We don't fear differences or new ideas. We embrace them. Han watched the display, seeing the galaxy transformed. Worlds that had been resource extraction centers under the Empire now thrived with their own unique developments. Species that had been deemed primitive now contributed valuable perspectives and innovations. I understand now, Han said quietly. The warning about humans wasn't just about your species. It was about the power of adaptation, of seeing possibilities rather than limitations. As they stood watching the galaxy's ongoing transformation, Han finally accepted what he had resisted for so long. The Empire hadn't fallen because humans were stronger or smarter. It had fallen because it couldn't adapt to a changing galaxy. The humans had shown everyone that the impossible was only impossible.